You know that moment when your whole world shifts on its axis? When the people you've sacrificed everything for look at you like you're nothing more than an inconvenience? Mine happened over mashed potatoes. I'm sitting at my own dining table. Well, my table in my house, and my daughter Jennifer just told me to sit quietly and not embarrass them. Her mother-in-law, Diane, laughed. Actually, laughed. Like I was the punchline to some joke I didn't know I was part of. My name is Carolyn Mitchell. I'm 68 years old, and I've spent the last 40 years being the woman who holds everyone together. But on that Thanksgiving Day in 2023, something inside me finally snapped. Before I tell you what happened next, I want to know, where are you watching this from? Drop your city in the comments. I have a feeling some of you know exactly what I'm about to say. Let me take you back to the beginning, because this story doesn't start at Thanksgiving dinner. It starts 2 years earlier when my daughter Jennifer called me in tears. "Mom, we're going to lose the house," she sobbed into the phone. "Brad's business isn't doing well and we can't make the mortgage. The kids, Mom. Where are we going to live?" I was living in a comfortable 2-bedroom apartment in Seattle at the time. I downsized after my husband Robert passed away 3 years before. It was cozy. It was mine. It was paid for. But when your daughter calls crying, you don't think about what you're giving up. You think about fixing it. "What if I co-sign for a bigger place?" I suggested. "Something with room for all of us. You can get back on your feet and I'll be close to the grandkids." The relief in her voice should have warmed my heart. Instead, looking back, I realize it was the sound of someone who'd found an easy solution. Within a month, we'd moved into a beautiful 4-bedroom house in Tacoma. The lease was in my name, my credit score, my responsibility. Jennifer and Brad promised they'd contribute to rent once Brad's contracting business recovered. I had my retirement savings and Robert's life insurance. I could manage for a while. "You're saving our lives, Mom," Jennifer said as we unpacked boxes. "I don't know what we'd do without you." I believed her. Those first few months were actually wonderful. I had dinner with my grandchildren, Emma, 10, and Michael, 7, every night. I helped with homework. I was there for every soccer game and piano recital. This was what family was supposed to be, I thought. But then, Diane started visiting. Brad's mother had never liked me, though I'd spent years trying to win her over. She lived in a retirement community in Portland, fully funded by Brad's late father's military pension. She had means. She had independence. But what she wanted was control. "Carolyn," she'd say, her voice dripping with false sweetness, "you really should let Jennifer handle the kitchen. You're a guest here, after all." A guest? In the house I was paying for. The changes started subtly, like poison seeping through cracks. About 6 months after we moved in, I came downstairs one Saturday morning to find the furniture in the living room completely rearranged. The antique chair Robert had restored, the one I'd carefully positioned by the window where I could read, was shoved into a corner. "We thought the room needed better flow," Jennifer said, not looking up from her coffee. "Diane suggested it when she was here yesterday." Diane. Always Diane. "Sweetheart, that chair is special to me. Your father and I—" "Mom, it's just a chair. Don't be so sentimental about everything." "Just a chair, just my memories, just my feelings." Brad's business was supposedly improving, but I never saw a penny toward rent. Instead, they bought a new truck. Then they renovated the kitchen, making decisions without asking me, even though my name was on the lease and I was covering expenses. "We're investing in the house," Brad explained when I questioned the costly granite countertops. "It benefits all of us." But when I suggested we sit down and discuss finances, suddenly they were too busy. Always too busy. The grandkids started treating me differently too. Not because they wanted to, I could see the confusion in Emma's eyes, but because of what they were hearing. One evening, I overheard Jennifer on the phone with Diane. I know, she's always hovering. I can't even parent my own children without her input." I'd been helping Emma with a school project, the same way I'd helped Jennifer at that age. "Maybe you should set some boundaries," Diane's voice crackled through the speaker. She needs to understand this is your family now. Your family. As if I was some outsider who'd wandered in off the street. I confronted Jennifer the next day. Honey, if I'm overstepping, please tell me. I'm just trying to help. She sighed like I was an exhausting child. Mom, you're so sensitive. Nobody said you were overstepping. But the distance grew. Suddenly, I wasn't invited to help with homework anymore. Family movie nights happened after I'd gone to my room. Conversations stopped when I entered the kitchen. The financial strain was getting worse, too. I'd burned through half my savings keeping us afloat. When I tried to discuss it with Jennifer, she got defensive. We're doing our best, Mom. Brad's business has overhead. Diane said you should be grateful we're even letting you live here. Letting me live here? In the house where I was the only one on the lease, where my money paid every bill. Jennifer, I think we need to have a serious conversation about, God, Mom, not everything has to be a drama. This is exactly why Diane says you're exhausting to deal with. Diane says. Diane thinks. Diane suggests. I started eating dinner in my room. It was easier than sitting at the table feeling invisible. Emma would sometimes sneak up with drawings she'd made. I miss you, Grandma, she whispered once. I'm right here, sweetheart. I know, but Mommy says we're not supposed to bother you so much. That's when I realized they weren't pulling away accidentally. This was intentional. October came, and with it, the planning for Thanksgiving. I'd always hosted Thanksgiving. It was my tradition, passed down from my mother. I'd spent weeks preparing. The turkey brine recipe I'd perfected over 30 years, my grandmother's stuffing, the cranberry sauce Robert had loved. But this year felt different. So, I'm thinking we should do Thanksgiving here, Jennifer announced one evening at dinner. Not asking, telling. Of course, I said. I'll start planning the menu. Should we do the usual 20-pound turkey or... Actually, Diane wants to bring some dishes, Jennifer interrupted. She has this amazing gravy recipe. My gravy had been called amazing for 3 decades, but I swallowed my pride. That's fine. We can... And she's going to do the centerpiece. She has better taste for these things. Brad nodded along, shoveling food into his mouth, saying nothing. Better taste. As if the Thanksgiving tables I'd set for 40 years had been somehow lacking. Jennifer, I'd like to contribute more than just, Mom, please don't make this difficult. We're just trying to make this Thanksgiving special. Special. Without me. The next few weeks were a masterclass in being erased from your own life. Diane came over multiple times to plan Thanksgiving with Jennifer. They'd sit at the kitchen table, the one I paid for, discussing menus and decorations while I was literally in the next room. When I'd try to join the conversation, they'd exchange glances. Carolyn, we've got this handled, Diane would say, her smile sharp as a knife. I tried to talk to Brad. Maybe he'd see reason. Brad, I feel like I'm being pushed out of my own home. He barely looked up from his phone. Mom, Jennifer and Diane are just excited about Thanksgiving. You're overthinking it. Mom. He'd started calling me Mom 2 years ago and I'd been touched. Now it felt like a mockery. I'm not overthinking. I'm paying for this house and I'm being treated like... See, this is the problem, he snapped. You always throw the money thing in our faces. Diane warned me you'd do this. Diane warned him about me, the woman who'd saved them from homelessness. I went to my room and cried for the first time in months, real, ugly crying. The kind where you realize you've made a terrible mistake, but you're not sure how to fix it. My friend Barbara called that evening. We'd known each other for 45 years. Carol, you sound awful. What's wrong? I told her everything. The money, the disrespect, the way they'd frozen me out. Get out, she said immediately. Get out of that house. Barbara, they're my family. Family doesn't treat you like hired help. Family doesn't erase you while taking your money. Carol, I love you, but you need to wake up. They're using you. I knew she was right, but knowing and accepting are different things. Let's see how Thanksgiving goes, I said weakly. Maybe I'm overreacting. Barbara was quiet for a moment. Honey, you're not the one overreacting. You're the one being reacted to. Badly. I didn't sleep that night. Thanksgiving morning, I woke up at 5:30 out of habit. For 40 years, I'd started Thanksgiving before dawn, prepping, baking, making the house smell like the holidays. This year, I stayed in bed. At 7, I heard Diane's voice downstairs. She'd let herself in with the key Jennifer had given her, my key, to my house. I took my time getting dressed. When I finally came down at 8, the kitchen was full of activity, all of it orchestrated by Diane. "Oh, Carolyn," she said with that smile. "We didn't want to wake you. We know how hard mornings are at your age." At my age? I'd been up before dawn for decades. Jennifer was chopping vegetables, laughing at something Diane said. They looked like mother and daughter. I looked like the stranger. "Can I help with anything?" I asked. "We've got it covered," Jennifer said without looking at me. "Why don't you just relax?" Relax in my own home while strangers, because that's what they'd become, took over my kitchen. I made coffee and sat at the breakfast nook. Through the window, I watched Brad setting up tables in the backyard. Emma and Michael were helping, excited about the family gathering. At least someone remembered this was supposed to be about family. My brother Thomas and his wife Marie arrived at 11. They lived 3 hours away in Spokane, and I didn't see them often. Thomas took one look around and pulled me aside. "Carol, what's going on? Why are you sitting here like a guest?" "It's complicated, Tommy." "Uncomplicated? This is your house, isn't it?" Before I could answer, Diane appeared. "Thomas, so wonderful to see you again. Carol, your brother needs a drink. Could you show him where everything is?" In my own house. She was directing me around my own house. Thomas's jaw tightened, but Marie squeezed his hand. "We'd talk later." By 1 o'clock, the house was full. Diane had invited her sister and brother-in-law without asking me. Brad's cousins showed up, people I'd met maybe twice. The house I paid for had become Diane's stage. The dinner table was set beautifully, with the centerpiece Diane had brought, the dishes Diane had chosen, the gravy Diane had made. My grandmother's china sat unused in the cabinet. We all gathered around the table. Diane sat at the head, where I'd sat for 40 years. Jennifer was at her right hand. I was squeezed in between Brad's cousin and his sister, who spent the entire time on her phone. "Before we eat," Diane announced, standing, "I want to say how grateful I am that we could all be together in this beautiful home. Jennifer and Brad have worked so hard to make this house a home, and I'm so proud of them. Worked so hard. With my money. In my house. People clapped. Jennifer beamed. Brad nodded modestly. Nobody mentioned my name. I looked at Thomas. His face was red, his knuckles white around his fork. "Carolyn contributed a lot, too," Marie said loudly. "It's her house, after all." The table went quiet. Jennifer's smile froze. "Well, yes," Diane said smoothly. "We're all very grateful for Carolyn's initial help." Initial help. That's when it happened. I opened my mouth to speak. To say what, I don't know. Maybe to defend myself. Maybe to finally call out the gaslighting and disrespect. But Jennifer beat me to it. "Mom," she said, her voice sharp and clear in the silent room. "Don't embarrass us. Just sit quietly." The words hung in the air like a slap. My own daughter. The girl I'd rocked through nightmares. The woman whose hand I'd held through labor. The child I'd sacrificed everything for. Just told me to sit quietly. In my own house. And then Diane laughed. Not a small, uncomfortable laugh. A full, genuine laugh of amusement. Like Jennifer had said something clever. Like putting me in my place was entertaining. Several people around the table shifted uncomfortably. Thomas half stood from his chair. Marie's hand flew to her mouth. But what struck me most was Emma's face. My 10-year-old granddaughter looked horrified, not because she didn't understand, but because she did. She understood exactly what had just happened, and it scared her. Something inside me didn't break in that moment. It clarified. For 2 years, I'd been making excuses. They're stressed. Money is tight. Diane doesn't know better. Jennifer's just overwhelmed. But this wasn't stress. This was cruelty. This was calculated disrespect from people who'd taken everything I had and decided it still wasn't enough, that I still wasn't enough. I stood up. My chair scraped against the floor, loud in the silence. "Carolyn," Diane started, still with that amused tone. I held up one hand. My voice, when it came, was calm, steady, clear. "I'm going to my room to pack. I'm leaving, and I suggest you all start looking for a new place to live because in 30 days, when I cancel this lease, you'll need to be out." Jennifer's face went white. "Mom, you're being dramatic." "I'm being done, Jennifer. There's a difference. You can't just kick us out." Brad stood now, his voice rising. "We have a lease." "Actually, no, you don't. I have a lease. My name, my credit, my responsibility. And I'm done being responsible for people who treat me like garbage." Diane's amusement had vanished. "Now, Carolyn, let's not be hasty." "Don't." I turned to her. "Don't you dare tell me not to be hasty. You've spent 2 years poisoning my daughter against me, turning my home into your kingdom, and treating me like an inconvenience. You wanted me gone? Congratulations. You're getting your wish." I looked around the table, at the shocked faces, at the family who'd watched me be, diminished and said nothing. "The turkey and all the food stays. Enjoy your Thanksgiving." Before anyone could respond, not that anyone seemed capable of words, I need to pause here and ask you something. If this story is resonating with you, if you've ever felt invisible in your own life, do me a favor and subscribe to this channel. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because what I did next changed everything, and you won't want to miss it. I walked out of that dining room with my head high. Behind me, chaos erupted. Jennifer's voice. "Mom, wait, you can't." Brad's voice. "This is insane." Diane's voice. "Someone stop her." I kept walking. I locked my bedroom door behind me and leaned against it, my heart pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. From downstairs, I could hear them arguing. Jennifer was crying. Brad was shouting about leases and lawyers. Diane's voice cut through it all, sharp and commanding, trying to take control of a situation that was rapidly spiraling beyond her reach. Good. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and called Barbara. "Barbara, I did it. I'm leaving." "Oh, thank God. Where are you going? Do you need me to come get you?" "Not yet. I need to pack. But I'm going to need a place to stay for a few days while I figure things out." "My guest room is yours for as long as you need it. Carol, I'm proud of you." Proud? When was the last time someone had said they were proud of me? I pulled my suitcases from the closet and started packing. Clothes first, then the photographs from my dresser. My wedding photo, baby pictures of Jennifer, photos of Robert. The things that were mine before this nightmare began. Someone pounded on the door. "Mom, open this door right now, Jennifer." My daughter was using the tone I'd used on her when she was a teenager breaking curfew. "I'm packing, Jennifer. I'll be out in an hour." "You're being ridiculous. You can't just leave on Thanksgiving." "Watch me." "What about the kids? You're just abandoning your grandchildren?" The manipulation was breathtaking. I was abandoning them? Me? "Jennifer," I said through the door, keeping my voice level. "You've made it clear I'm not wanted here. I'm simply respecting your wishes." I never said, "You told me to sit quietly and not embarrass you, in front of 20 people, in my own house. So I'm going somewhere I won't be an embarrassment." Silence. Then, "Diane shouldn't have laughed. That was wrong. But you're overreacting." Overreacting. The go-to word for people who want you to accept mistreatment. Go back to your guests, Jennifer. More pounding. This time it was Brad. "Carolyn, we need to talk about this like adults." Like adults. The man who'd contributed nothing while spending everything wanted to talk like adults. "Contact me through my lawyer, Brad. His name is Richard Chen. I'll text you his number." "Your lawyer? Jesus Christ, are you serious?" Deadly serious. I heard Diane's voice in the hallway. "Let me try. Carolyn, it's Diane. I think we got off on the wrong foot." Wrong foot. 2 years of disrespect and manipulation was a wrong foot. I didn't answer her. I just kept packing. By 3 o'clock, I'd loaded my car with everything I couldn't live without. The rest could wait for a moving truck. I called Thomas, who'd taken Marie and the kids to a hotel rather than stay for the rest of the disaster. "I'm leaving now. Can you meet me at Barbara's?" "Already on my way there." "Carol, that took guts. Real guts." I grabbed my purse, my car keys, and took one last look around my room. At the space I'd called home for 2 years, in a house I'd paid for, with a family who'd forgotten I mattered. I unlocked the door and stepped out. They were all waiting in the hallway. Jennifer, Brad, Diane, a delegation of people who'd suddenly realized they had a problem. Emma and Michael were on the stairs, watching with wide eyes. That hurt more than anything, leaving them, but I couldn't set myself on fire to keep other people warm anymore. "Grandma?" Emma's small voice cracked. "Are you leaving?" I went to the stairs and knelt down, eye level with her. "I am, sweetheart. But this doesn't change how much I love you. You and Michael are the best things in my life." "Then why are you going?" Tears rolled down her cheeks. "Sometimes grown-ups need space to work things out. I promise I'll see you soon." "Liar," Michael shouted suddenly. "You're leaving just like Grandpa did. Everyone always leaves." His words hit like a freight train. Brad moved to scold him, but I held up my hand. "Michael, your grandpa didn't leave on purpose. He got sick. But you're right that people you love can disappoint you. I'm sorry this is happening." Jennifer's voice was thick with tears. "Mom, please, can't we just talk about this after everyone leaves?" "We should have talked about it 6 months ago, Jennifer, a year ago. Every time I tried to discuss how I was feeling, I was told I was being dramatic or sensitive. I'm done talking." "What about the rent?" Brad blurted out. "We can't afford—" "That's not my problem anymore, Brad." Diane stepped forward and I saw something I'd never seen before, genuine fear in her eyes. "Carolyn, surely we can come to some arrangement. I may have overstepped." "You did more than overstep, Diane. You systematically dismantled my relationship with my daughter. You turned my home into your territory. And you laughed, actually laughed, when Jennifer told me to be quiet. I didn't mean, yes you did. You meant every bit of it. You wanted me pushed out so you could be the matriarch. Well, congratulations. You can be matriarch of your own damn house." I looked at Jennifer one last time, my daughter, who looked so much like me at her age. "When you're ready to apologize, really apologize, not just try to get me back because you need something, you have my number." But I'm not holding my breath. I walked past them toward the front door. Through the dining room window, I could see the confused guests still sitting at the table, their Thanksgiving dinner going cold. My hand was on the doorknob when Jennifer's voice rang out. "Fine, leave. But don't expect to be in our lives when you realize you were wrong. Don't expect to see your grandchildren." I turned back. "Jennifer, I raised you better than to weaponize children. If you keep Emma and Michael from me out of spite, that's on you, not me. But I think you'll find that's harder to explain to them than you think." I walked out and closed the door behind me. The November air was cold and clean. I took a deep breath, the first truly free breath I'd taken in 2 years. My phone started buzzing before I even reached my car. I ignored it. Barbara's house was warm and smelled like pumpkin pie. She took one look at my face and pulled me into a hug. "You did it. You really did it." "I really did." My voice cracked. "Barbara, what if I made a mistake?" "The only mistake you made was waiting 2 years to do it. Come on, let's get you settled." Thomas and Marie arrived an hour later with Chinese takeout. We sat in Barbara's cozy living room and had our own Thanksgiving, quiet, simple, and full of people who actually wanted me there. "What's your plan?" Thomas asked. "Monday morning, I'm calling my lawyer. I want to understand exactly what my rights are with the lease." "You're really going through with canceling it?" I looked at my brother. "Tommy, would you stay in a situation like that?" "Hell no. I would have left after the first month." "Then you have your answer." That night, lying in Barbara's guest bed, I checked my phone. 43 missed calls, 67 text messages. Most were from Jennifer. "Mom, please come back. Let's talk." You're being selfish. Think about the kids. I can't believe you're doing this on Thanksgiving. Some were from Brad. We need to discuss this rationally. You're making a huge mistake. I'm calling lawyers first thing Monday. Several were from relatives who'd been at dinner. Carol, I had no idea things were this bad. If you need anything, you were in the right. Don't let them guilt you. And one was from Diane. You've always been jealous of my relationship with Jennifer. This is childish. I blocked her number immediately. Friday morning, I woke up to find Emma had somehow gotten my number, probably from Thomas's daughter, and sent me a message. Grandma, I miss you. Mom is crying a lot. She keeps saying you abandoned us, but I know that's not true. You're the one who always shows up. I love you. I cried reading that. Not sad tears, relieved ones. At least one person in that house saw the truth. I spent the weekend researching my legal rights. The lease was in my name. I'd paid every month on time. In Washington state, I had the right to terminate the lease with proper notice, 60 days for a month-to-month, which is what we'd converted to after the first year. I'd been generous, saying 30 days. Legally, I could give them 60 and they'd have to wait. But I'd also be responsible for 60 days of rent. Money I no longer wanted to spend on people who didn't value me. Barbara suggested an alternative. What if you talk to the landlord, explain the situation, see if you can get out of the lease entirely? Smart. Barbara had always been the practical one. Monday morning, I called Richard Chen, the lawyer who'd handled Robert's will. I explained everything. Mrs. Mitchell, he said after listening to the whole story, you have several options. But I think the cleanest solution is to meet with your daughter and son-in-law, with me present, and propose a settlement. What kind of settlement? One where everyone walks away and you're freed from any obligation. I'm listening. The meeting was set for Wednesday afternoon at Richard's office. Jennifer and Brad showed up with their own lawyer, a young guy who looked fresh out of law school. I came with Richard, Thomas, and a folder full of documents. Let's keep this civil, Richard began. My client would like to resolve this matter quickly and fairly. Your client abandoned her family on Thanksgiving, Brad's lawyer started. She made verbal threats about the lease. I made a statement about my intentions regarding a lease that is solely in my name, I interrupted. There were no threats. Richard slid a paper across the table. This is a record of every rent payment made on the property for the past 2 years. As you can see, Mrs. Mitchell has paid 100% of the rent, totaling $67,000. Jennifer's face went pale. Seeing it written down, the actual number made it real. She also covered utilities, which totaled another $8,400. That's $75,400 total that she's contributed to maintaining a household for 4 adults and 2 children. Brad cleared his throat. We paid for groceries and... You paid for groceries occasionally, I said. I have bank statements. Would you like to compare expenses? Their lawyer looked uncomfortable. He clearly hadn't expected documentation. Here's what my client proposes, Richard continued. She will agree to remain on the lease for 60 more days, giving you time to find alternative housing. In exchange, you will pay the rent for those 60 days. Additionally, Mrs. Mitchell will remove her belongings from the home this weekend, and you will sign a document releasing her from any future obligations to you, financial or otherwise. That's insane, Brad said. We can't afford 2 months of rent. Then I suggest you get a loan, find cheaper housing, or ask your mother for help, I said, looking directly at him. Diane seemed to have a lot of opinions about how I should handle my money. Perhaps she'll be more forthcoming with hers. Jennifer finally spoke. Mom, this is cruel. No, Jennifer. Cruel was telling me to sit quietly in my own home. Cruel was laughing when your mother-in-law disrespected me. Cruel was 2 years of taking my money while making me feel worthless. This is me setting boundaries. We're family. Family doesn't treat each other the way you treated me. I taught you better than that, or at least I tried. Thomas leaned forward. My sister gave you everything she had. Her money, her home, her dignity. All she asked for was basic respect. You couldn't even give her that. Mr. Mitchell, their lawyer said nervously, perhaps we should discuss. Here's the alternative, Richard interrupted. Mrs. Mitchell terminates the lease effective immediately. You have 30 days to vacate, during which she pays nothing. She files a small claims suit for half the rent and utilities she covered, about $37,000. You both have evictions on your record, making it nearly impossible to rent anywhere decent. The room went silent. Or, Richard continued, you accept the generous offer of 60 days, which she doesn't have to give you, and everyone walks away clean. Brad and Jennifer looked at each other. Their lawyer whispered frantically to them. Finally, Jennifer spoke, her voice small. Fine, we accept. I moved my remaining belongings out that Saturday. Thomas rented a truck, and Barbara organized a group of our friends to help. It took 6 hours to clear out everything I'd accumulated, my bedroom furniture, my books, the antique chair Robert had restored, boxes of memories. Jennifer and Brad stayed in their bedroom the entire time. I didn't see them once, but Emma and Michael came out. Emma gave me a ceramic heart she'd made in art class. So you don't forget us, she whispered. I could never forget you, sweetheart, and this isn't forever. Your mom and I need time, but you're always welcome in my life. Michael hugged me tight. I'm sorry I called you a liar, Grandma. You were hurt, baby. I understand. That was the hardest part, leaving them. But I couldn't sacrifice myself to maintain access to my grandchildren. They needed to see what healthy boundaries looked like, even if it hurt. By the end of January, I'd found a beautiful one-bedroom apartment near Barbara. It had a balcony overlooking a park, and it was mine, truly mine. No one to answer to, no one to diminish me. The 60 days passed. Jennifer and Brad moved to a smaller rental in a less expensive area. Diane, I heard through the grapevine, had to loan them money for the deposit. The irony wasn't lost on me. Emma called me once a week, usually when Jennifer was at work. We'd video chat and she'd tell me about school. I sent birthday cards and Christmas presents. I was there, just differently. In March, Jennifer sent a text. Can we talk? We met at a coffee shop. She looked tired, older. I'm sorry, she said. Really sorry. Not because things got hard after you left, but because I treated you horribly. You deserved better, especially from me. I didn't rush to forgive her. Thank you for saying that. Diane doesn't come around anymore. Once she realized we didn't have your money to fall back on, she got less interested in our lives. That must hurt. It does, but it's also clarifying. She looked up at me, tears in her eyes. I took you for granted. I let her poison me against you, and I'm ashamed. We talked for 2 hours. It wasn't a magical reunion. Real healing doesn't work that way. But it was a start. I'm not back in their lives the way I was. I don't want to be. I visit Emma and Michael once a week for lunch, on my terms. Jennifer and I are slowly rebuilding something. Not what we had before, but maybe something better, more honest. Brad apologized too, eventually. I accepted it, but kept my distance. Some relationships aren't meant to be close. I'm 69 now. I have my apartment, my independence, and my self-respect. I have friends who value me. I have grandchildren who know I love them, even from a distance. And I have the peace of knowing I didn't lose myself trying to hold together people who'd already let go. That Thanksgiving dinner changed everything. Not because I stood up, though that mattered, but because I finally understood that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away, and I'd do it again.